mic on or is it on? It's on. It's time? Good morning. Thank all of you for coming, and I want to welcome those of you who are at home joining us today. We have come a long way in this past year. We had many, many challenges in the year of 2021. I'm happy to say we had a very active COVID task force, and we opened for in-person worship on February 21st. We also reconvened our strategic planning committee, and we had a lot of good results. We had a community picnic attended with well over 90 people, and we ran out of potato salad. We joined Many Faces, a collaboration of many organizations in White Bear Lake, and we were a host site for one of their meetings. We also are partnering with Willow School, and happy to say, I think there are at least 12 of us who are doing the Reading Buddy program, and it has been very successful. And thank you for those who are participating, and I hope others will join in the future. At this time, I call the meeting to order for the Parkview United Church of Christ annual meeting. Pastor Debbie, will you lead us in prayer?
Let's be together in prayer. Gracious and loving God, we give thanks for the year past, a year of challenges, a year of fear, a year of loss. But we give thanks that we came through this together, that you helped us as a church to work together, to be strengthened, not to be divided. We give thanks for all of the leadership of this church, the lay leadership, the people who put in the many, many hours that it took to bring this congregation safely through a pandemic. As we come to a new year, we ask that you continue to be with us, that you continue to give us your wisdom so that we may make wise choices, that you strengthen our generosity, our giving of our time, our talent, our treasure. We ask that you give us the strong leaders that we need in order to move forward into a new year. With great gratitude, with great thankfulness, with great appreciation for all that has been done for us, O God, through your loving acts, we pray. Amen.
Kim, do we have a quorum?
We do.
Thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? If not, it will stand approved as printed. We celebrate our past. Please turn to page 5. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes of the annual meeting? If not, they stand approved as printed. Our annual reports, I hope you've had a chance to peruse some of them. Are there any additions, corrections?
I have a correction to the nominations ballot. I neglected to change the date on the header.
Thank you. We present our plans for the future, proposed changes to the Parkview bylaws. Please turn to page 33. Kim, would you like to comment? Take charge.
Okay, there were basically 3 areas of change to the bylaws that the council had approved. The one for the music committee was approved by council in end of 2020, and I neglected to get it bylaw announcement for last annual meeting. What we did in order to take some of the load off the diaconate, because they have a lot of stuff, moved the music committee under the church council. Then the finance committee is absorbing the financial, oh yeah, okay, not used to this. The finance committee has requested that we absolve the financial review committee and allow the finance committee to do the financial review. The treasurer would not be part of that, but they would be of assistance if needed. And they've developed a complete financial review process that they would follow. So we would be removing the financial review committee from the bylaws and amending the finance committee. And the third one is the personnel committee. In the past, we've had a person from the trustees act as a liaison, and we think it's because mainly they had supervisory responsibilities. They no longer have those, and so we've decided to change it from 4 people to 3 people and remove the trustees' appointment to the personnel committee. Any questions? Chuck?
On the financial committee, you have not included anyone outside of the finance organization. In other words, a fresh person to come in and look at the review of the finance. In other words, they're auditing themselves.
Well, the only person that really handles the money is the treasurer, and the treasurer is not included in the financial review. And in all years, the financial review committee has been appointments of members of the church.
But you're deleting that now, is it?
Right, but we're adding it up into the financial review committee. What? Oh yeah, sorry.
As may be assigned, but it does not mandate being assigned. In other words, all I'm getting at is that, as it's written, the finance committee audits themselves, including the treasurer.
The finance committee will audit the books, yes.
Themselves, yeah, their work.
Which they have done in the last, I don't know.
I know, but usually
They are,
you have somebody that's fresh and comes in and looks at it.
we have in the past had a trustee come in.
We have not been able to staff a finance review committee in the past. We've sent out requests and haven't really had any responses. And we discussed at the council how we could go about doing a review of the finances without having to go to an outside audit firm. And that was the desire, to try to keep it within Parkview's membership to go through the books. The finance committee, the way that's worded here is that you can see excluding the treasurer, but we could have and/or other church members as assigned by the finance committee join us. We recognize that we don't want to have the fox in the hen house. We want to make sure that we got an unbiased review. And I think the review process, which the copy of it is in the annual report, identifies specific steps that need to be conducted to perform a financial review. And I think it's as close to a non-paid outside third-party audit as we can get, but without a bias looking at the numbers. That was kind of our philosophy. I hope I'm explaining it well enough. Any more questions about, is that satisfactory, do you think, Chuck, for the time being, or Jane?
In the past, it was always the trustee.
And I think you always have a situation where we're going to be having to tap into a base of people that are involved in the numbers in one way or the other. And we've excluded the treasurer because the treasurer is the one role that is paying the bills and managing the books and making sure that everything balances out at the end of the month. What we're saying is we're going to exclude the treasurer from this financial review. And I think we're going to end up trusting the people that are in the finance committee to do an honest and fair assessment of what's going to go on. I mean, if there's any collusion that's taking place, it's going to be exposed by one method or another. That was the conclusion we came to. We couldn't come up with a better idea without having to spend money to go out and hire a third party. And you get into an audit, and that's a completely different game regarding your numbers. Jane, I don't know, am I answering you?
And they still can be.
They still can be.
Correct. They still can
They still
be.
can be.
Yes. All right, any other questions regarding the 3 proposed changes? Then could I get a motion to approve as presented? Al, second, Vern? All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Nay. Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim and Dave. Our nominating committee. I want to thank all of you who have participated on the boards and committees this past year, and thank those of you who are leaving, and hope you don't leave Parkview, but stay involved in another capacity. Leslie, will you please present our ballot? Page 37.
Thank you, Sue. Let's see if I do this right. Oh, all right, pages 37 and 38, please. So what I'd like to do, first of all, at the top, as Kim mentioned earlier, we amended the date. It should be January 30th, 2022. And I'd like to walk through a couple of openings that we have, and hopefully we'll have some volunteers for service this year. We have an opportunity for historian. Janice Anderson has been our historian, and she would very much like to have a co-lead for that role for the 2022 season. Do we have any nominations for co-historian? What does the historian do? So the historian. I'm sorry, what was that? Oh. So the historian's role, as I understand it, and I'll look to others to correct me if I'm wrong, but is to archive, if you will, our happenings here. So we may have photographs, we may have meaning things that happen here, and archive those in perpetuity for the history of the church. Any amendment to how I just described that? It's a fairly straightforward role in my view, in that we have had a lot of organization in the past that has made it a lot easier to do that over time. So it's, I think it's a matter of going through anything that hasn't been archived to date for 2021, and then keeping current for this year. So with that, are there any other questions? Any nominations or volunteers for co-historian? Mary Lou, God bless you. God bless Mary Lou. Yes, round. All right, the next board where we have openings is the Board of Christian Education. So we'd like to have 6 members total. We currently have 4 with the addition of Laura Mellon for 2021. 2022 into 2023. We have 2 openings on the Board of Christian Education. Are there any nominations for this important role for the future of our church? Any questions? One last, any nominations? Okay. And then last board with opening is the mission board, which helps determine the direction of how we go out into our community and the world with our mission of church. And we like to have 6 members for that role as well. For that board as well, and right now we have 5. Are there any questions about the mission board? Are there any nominations? Barb Memory. Thank you, Barb. Yes, please, round of applause. All right. I'd like to make a motion to accept as amended. What, first? Second? Thank you. Thank you all so very much. Oh, did you have a question? Okay.
We have a motion on the floor to accept our nominations with the additions on Mary Lou Tyler as co-historian, Barb Memory on the mission board, and Dave Whiteman as our vice moderator. All in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. And now our presentation of our proposed budget. Ivan, would you like to come forward?
Okay, I get the pleasure of talking you through the budget. First thing I just wanted to point out, if you look at our actuals for 2021, you'll see that we came up with a deficit of $12,742. Okay, according to our budget was $13,250. So overall, we actually did a pretty good job preparing the budget last year. We were only $500 off. So just keeping that in mind going forward. If you start with the 2022 budget, you see that the income is budgeted at the total pledged income is $255,000. Dave Whiteman, our financial secretary, has done extensive work on coming up with this number. He's taken all of the pledges that were pledged, making a lot of phone calls to those that he did not get, and he came up with an estimate of $255,000. You will notice that the pledge units decreased from 73 in 2021 to 70 in 2022. And that, obviously that's a reason for the income being at $255,000. $15,000 of other income, that could come from members that are in the church that just haven't pledged but still give money. So they're not counted as the pledged income, it's just other income. Or could anybody that drops in and puts cash in the donation box or in the offerings. Moving down, if you go down to the benevolence, OCWM Outreach, they requested a budget of $5,000. You can see the budget is $1,000. The plan for that is for the OCWM Outreach to be funded with the Larson Endowment, which is special funds, so it's not part of the actual budget itself. But they will have money to spend. If you look down to the salaries, nothing really in particular there. The salaries will include a 2% increase starting July 1st. We have decided this year as a finance committee, along with the personnel committee, to start salary increases and reviews to go along with the so-called calendar year of the youth in those positions. So that's why it starts July 1st. So it's only really a half-year impact for 2022. Keep going down to program ministry. Oh, hang on. We had this council meeting, and each of the board member or board representation, so the diaconate, the CE, council, they have all approved the use of special funds to cover their budgets. And the reason for that is, you'll see at the bottom, the deficit is, almost $16,000. So that is a way of the finance committee at least, trying to whittle down that number higher than it would be. And they've all agreed, and they have funds available to them to use. And they've agreed to use those to help cover those expenses. Facilities, the maintenance, they requested, I don't know, it was almost like, I think 29,000 or something, 30,000, okay? And we've asked them to whittle that down to 27,000. We asked them for like a outline of what the expenses were gonna be. We didn't hear back from them, so we kind of put out the number of 27,000 with the expectation that special funds can be used for those needs that arise that come up. Again, there's special funds are available for that. So total expenses come out to be almost 290,000, leaving with a surplus deficit of $15,546. If you notice, as a finance committee, our goal was to always present a zero balanced budget. Unfortunately, with COVID and, the financial times that are going on, last year we did approve a deficit budget, and this year we have to again. We do not, like the trend. And what we're proposing for 2022 is the finance committee, along with the council and probably another committee or volunteers, is going to have multiple financial strategies meetings during 2022 to determine, what we need to do to stop continuing surplus or deficit budgets. We've had that, last year or 2 years ago, we had a strategic planning committee or meeting that took a look at all the circumstances, membership, new growth, members leaving, all kind of other factors that went into it, and we had a model that we presented. We are going to get back to that. We'll research the numbers in depth. I don't think we can't really get into it now, but there is a plan to get us out of this trend. We're going to have to. I just wanted to take a look. I don't think this is a slide, but if you look on page 30 in your packet, those are the special funds, if you will. So the general income, it's about, a quarter of the way down. The current balance is about 94,000. That is essentially, what we have in the bank to cover budget expenses. So if we take, 94,000 left, our proposed 16,000, right, that's going to dwindle down pretty quickly. Keeping in mind that we want to keep at least 3-4 months savings in the bank to cover expenses in case, something doesn't come in. So looking back at the other boards, so CCE, they got about 10,645, so that's enough to cover their expenses. Like I said, the Larson Endowment's got 47,000 for the OCWM to cover. There's some music, some there for music. As long as capital expense, there's 73,300 to cover the maintenance that we were talking about. The 3,000 that we took out of the budget, and then there also is from the capital pain fund. There's 72,000. Which I think is another slide. But I just wanted you guys to see that, we took into consideration that they have the funds to cover those expenses. And with that, I'll leave it to Dave. He's got more to say, or open it up to questions. Yeah. Questions?
I would like to just, one slight correction. The trustees gave us a very detailed sheet. We got a list of a lot of their expenses. And in their case, in all the other boards' cases, the Finance Committee is not a decision-making group. The council makes all decisions. Finance Committee does lead efforts to identify options for how we spend our money and try to come up with a balanced budget. And as Ivan correctly said, our goal over the last years of our existence was to present a balanced budget. We are deeply concerned that this is the second year in a row of a deficit presentation. We can't continue to allow that to happen, so we have to make some decisions about how we're going to get back to an annually balanced budget. That's absolutely critical. The process that we have for putting a budget together heavily depends upon pledging. That's the primary source of income. And our pledging process takes us through the end of December before we really get an idea of what our pledge numbers look like. We had 70 pledge member units this year. Last year we had 73. The year before that we had 83. So when we got to the end of this particular year and we saw our pledge number where it was, there was little that we could do except put together a deficit budget for approval today. However, the caveat is we wish to invite at some point here in the not too distant future, we're targeting end of Q1, beginning of Q2, to start a series of discussions to start peeling back layers of the onion and take a deep dive look at how we might decrease expenses. We have several ideas, but it's not our purview as the Finance Committee to make decisions. We want to present options so that the council and the congregation can make decisions about cost reduction. We want to talk about how we could increase income. What opportunities do we have for increasing income? And thirdly, a headline topic would be how do we address some of our special funds? How do we use our reserves properly? It's under that general umbrella of dialogue we expect to deliver within 2022 a plan that has potentially different avenues for engagement depending upon the outcome. How much non-pledge income do we get from the people that chose not to pledge? How do we do with new membership? We'll see these things transpire over the next several months, but we need to have some different lanes that we can go depending upon our income results to make sure we have a balanced budget. We need to get to a balanced budget. We can't keep tapping into our savings. That's just not going to work. Barb has a question. Could you get her the microphone, Kim?
Will there be another comment about the capital funds?
Yes.
Is that in a separate category?
Woody is going to give us an update on the capital funds phase 2 implementation. Yes. Chuck has a question, Kim.
Do I read this correctly, that we have $160,000 in the savings account?
We have in our savings reserve at the bank, I think it's 94,000, something like that.
Physically, yes, there's 160,000 in the savings account.
Yeah.
Are we giving any thought as inflation is going to increase of looking at alternatives for having that, not having that amount of money in a savings account?
I think that's exactly the type of question that we'd like to dive into a little bit more. That's perfect example, Chuck, of what we want to do to peel back how we use our special fund reserves. Because many of those dollars have been donated with some special fund provisions behind them. Well, let's step back and ask ourselves, how do we make best use of those special fund reserves in addition to other decisions that we're going to have to cross regarding expenses? We're not comfortable presenting a deficit budget a second year in a row. I can tell you that from the Finance Committee. We gnash our teeth regularly trying to figure out what we can do to help get the numbers under control. The council is the ultimate decision maker. We bear responsibility for bringing good suggestions to the council. We're not shirking from that, but we would like to say that this is going to be a pivotal year for us to really think about how we make whatever adjustments are necessary to deliver a balanced budget. Our goal and expectation is by the end of 2022, we're going to have a plan that has a couple different avenues, channels for us to go to make sure that we stick with a balanced budget going forward. We'll see how it plays out this year. This is the beginning of the year. It's always a guesswork. I can tell you the pledge numbers. I put down 255 based upon what I know. We only got pledges of 240 something. We're going to get close to 255 based upon past performance for people that donate money. It'll play that way out. But it's still guesswork. Educated guesswork, but guesswork. Any other questions about the budget? So,
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Ivan. I would entertain a motion to accept the budget as printed in our pamphlet. You want to move? Jane, we have a motion. Is there a second? Ward, Woody, thank you. All those in favor of our proposed budget, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you, and thank both of you, David and Ivan. As you know, we have completed our phase 1 of our capital campaign, and it went very well. And now we are going to begin phase 2. Woody, would you like to give us an update?
I won't say good morning because now it's good afternoon. In the past, we did, our original request for a capital campaign was for $350,000 to complete the 4 items that have been completed. Ultimately, we spent $347,000 on those 4 items. The pledges that we got when we asked for $350,000 was $506,000. Currently, as of December 31st, we have a little over $71,000, almost $72,000 already received to be spent on whatever we decide with the capital improvement. There are 11 months left of those pledges with 86, almost 89,000 left to come in. We will come up with a proposal for all the different items that we want to include in this capital improvement phase 2. There are several improvements in a few key areas, which are the fellowship hall, the kitchen area, and the entries and the hallway. Kim and I met with a contractor 2 weeks ago, and with Dick Gunderson of Gunderson Construction. He advised that we get a designer or architect to help us firm up drawings of what we need, and this will allow us a better picture of what the total project may look like, a breakdown list of the different steps of the process, and order of events and costs involved. Mainly the fellowship hall, all these improvements were based on what we did with canvassing the congregation about what was needed. Fellowship hall was number 1, kitchen was number 2, etc. Do you want me to go through details? Because I am detailed, but I know I talk a long time. So we are moving forward, and we will not have anything finalized yet. But as we're still in the early stages of the phase of the capital campaign, once the capital campaign phase 2 committee has collected all that we need for a proposal, it will be brought to the congregation for a vote. So we will not be moving forward just because we have X number of dollars does not mean we're going to move forward without your approval. So, any questions? Okay, have a good day.
Thank you. Is there any other new business we need to bring forward at this time? Is anyone listening at home, have they sent you any questions we need to answer? No? Very good, thank you. And now it is time for me to pass the gavel on. First of all, I want to thank, on behalf of the entire congregation, I want to thank Al Holcomb for his 3 years of service to Parkview. He was my right-hand man, and also I relied heavily on he and Vern for our COVID task force so we could safely open up our church. And what a wonderful thing it was in February, and we ended our year with our in-person candlelight service on Christmas Eve. We couldn't have done better, folks. And yes, it was not all good. We did have to postpone our celebration for the Benura family, and we did postpone our Thanksgiving feast. But it is better to err for safety, and we are all here today. Thank you very much, and it has been a privilege and a pleasure to serve you. And I would like to ask Leslie, I'm turning the gavel over to you. Come and give us some good words of wisdom.
Thanks, Sue. No wisdom, but I want to echo Sue's thought about thank you so much, Al. Thank you for your service these last 3 years. But I know that you continue to be a service and a leadership role, and I also know that I can email you at any time, right? And thanks to Sue for her guidance and leadership this past year. I personally want to thank both of them for mentoring and including me. Really felt like we were 3 legs of a stool this past year, teamwork. And I want to continue that partnership with the moderator team that we have going forward into the new year with Sue, Dave, and myself. So I'm really excited for the year ahead. We've got lots going on, and I really truly approach it with a servant heart, and feel free to reach out, phone, email, catch me after service at any time. If you have any questions or any need to talk, I'm happy to listen. So thank you all for trusting me, and look forward to a wonderful year. Thank you.
Pardon? I want to thank all the boards and committees for all your effort this past year, and I know you had to be very flexible, and we persevered. And I want to welcome all of you who are joining us this year, and I know we will have a good and prosperous year. Pastor Debbie, would you like to say the benediction?
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, at the end of a year, we give thanks for all the people who contributed to the mission of Parkview Church. We give thanks for all the people who were a part of our worshiping committee, who prayed with us and sang with us and brought us together. And I want to thank you for all of our leaders, the people who gave that extra time and energy, who gave their wisdom, gave their very lives to making sure that this church came through a time of pandemic. You are a good God. You have given us so much. May we use the strength and the gifts and the time and the people that you have given us to do your work in the world in the year ahead. Amen.
We adjourn to serve. Thank you all for coming. The annual meeting is adjourned.